to this status video from Normasym. We have before done and completed a video where we just were telling about what's happening in Normasym, and this video is more to highlight the countries that I have been involved in, and also how you should do and how you should navigate in those countries when it comes to the business, for instance. So for that I have taken Michael with me, and Michael will be in charge of just questioning me the different languages, and then I will have to answer them in terms of when it comes to how you do business in those different countries. So
I have a list here of the countries that you have actually done business in.
Yes.
So let's just take it from the top and see how it goes.
That's a good idea.
So, China.
Yeah, China is and mainland China, because there is two different versions. We also have Hong Kong, which might, after I remember, will come next time, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we start with mainland China, and when it comes to China in general, this is a whole new world, if you can say that, in comparison with the Europe that we are well known about. So first of all, if you are dealing with China, you need to have a really strong network, first of all. And if you come to China and do not have any network at all, then you will have a problem. So what we do in China is mainly get in touch with, that could be lighting designers, that could be architects, and bring up some sort of relations in first hand. And then we will have the first project, and then after we have got the first project, then it's much more easier to have the other projects on board. So it's really much about getting the first project, and then you can move forward. In our case, since we are a lighting company, then we have to get in touch with the persons who are involved in the building sector. Otherwise, it's not really possible. So what we do in China is mainly focusing on the more I would say, it's more the more exclusive projects, instead of those projects which is just like Chinese products, because we do have manufacturer in like a manufacturing platform in China as well as South Korea, and that's a good thing as well. If you want to go to China, then they support their own companies in manufacturing the products, and then can be delivered in China as well. So there's different steps, but what you just have to consider in China is that network is everything.
So just to go back to the beginning, how did you actually establish a network in China?
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I am that lucky person that I have been studied in China for half year. So for that reason, I know a lot of people there, and I have a good connection with all those still, and I keep them on track. But if you're starting from the ground, then let's say, I can only tell in my perspective when it comes to lighting. So what we are doing here is we want to get in touch with lighting designers, we want to get in touch with architects and engineers, and that's a start. And then you just call them.
Okay.
That's really important. So then you have the network there, and if you go to the meeting and have a good relationship with those, then you're just starting to bring that really good vibe, and they're starting to trust you, and then you get the first project, next project, a third project, and then it's just flowing.
Okay, cool.
So build up a relationship.
Can you somehow build up a network using social medias in China?
That's hard, because and a good question, because the thing is, in China they have blocked a lot of social medias, so you cannot really enter Facebook, and you cannot even enter YouTube, and you cannot even enter Instagram. So when it comes to social medias in China, they have their own sort of platforms.
YouTubes and
something like that, yeah, right? And that's their own, like, branded under China. And that is true. There's different politicians who do not really want, those brands as we know them here in Europe and US and so on, to come into China, because there is too much knowledge about the different citizens, and China has just blocked them. So a good question. Yeah, that was a good question.
What about LinkedIn? Is that possible in China?
LinkedIn is possible in China, but there is some limitations as well.
Okay.
So you cannot really enter LinkedIn. It's the same way as you can here.
Yeah.
So
perfect. Well, is that the same in Hong Kong and Singapore and Korea?
Yeah. We take the Asian part, because that's mainly what's really important here. Is it's totally different ways of doing business. And what I can say about Hong Kong, for instance, is that Hong Kong, in terms of how exclusive, we can just look at a hotel. If you want to book a hotel in Hong Kong, the price is maybe like that could be 5 times of what it is in mainland China. So I was used to get like a 5-star hotel for a really small amount in mainland China. And when I came to Hong Kong a day after, I was just like, okay, so I have to pay like 5 times of what it cost in China. That was completely stupid, right? It was the same standard. So there is a huge difference between Hong Kong and mainland China when it comes to living there. And for that reason, there is also a lot more exclusive projects for us in Hong Kong compared to mainland China.
Okay.
And that's something that you have to consider. If you have a product where you are going to install that in a project, in our case, then it should not really, you should not worry so much about the price level. If the product are real for this project, and if the lighting designer, architect and so on understand exactly how to use it in the project, and it's just like fitting, then it's not a problem with price in Hong Kong compared to China. They are still focusing, in some cases, a lot on price. They are not the same here in Hong Kong.
So we've all seen you've been to Dubai here in the last vlogs, and what you have to say about Dubai. I don't think that you have actually studied in Dubai. So how did you get your network?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, in Dubai, if you have seen the latest vlog, I know.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen it, I am telling in the beginning that I have 2 employees, and those employees are calling lighting designers, architects, contractors, and traders in Dubai to set up relations, and that's really what you have to do. You know, the directly marketing where you connect with people abroad by calling them is so much more powerful than just sending an email and think that you will get any reply, because you will not.
Okay.
So it's really about that part. And then I have also another thing to point out, which is Roundtable, because I'm a member of Roundtable here in Denmark, which is I think we are 2,400 members, and in Dubai there is probably like I think it's like 100 members as I remember.
Okay.
And what we can do there is pretty much that I can have a meeting with them, and then they can set me up with some of their network. Because as we all know, I have a network, and the persons that I know in that network has some other network, and you can use it, and you can really come far. Let's say you know a person which is an architect, and that architect knows a person in Dubai, and you have a really good relationship with that architect. Mm-hmm. What happens is if I meet up with you and the architect, and we start to talk about Dubai, and that architect might have some connections in Dubai, then it can be like that as well.
Okay.
So I use the most important thing when it comes to this one is that you're open-minded and really are the person who wants to network with other people. That's so important, because otherwise you will not get abroad with your company, that's for sure.
So the key is networking.
Networking, yeah, it is.
Well, that leaves us back to Europe, and I can see United Kingdom here on the list.
Yeah. United Kingdom, mainly London, is one of the most interesting markets aside of Dubai for us right now. Why? Is because they are building a lot in UK.
Yeah.
Really. So I believe when it comes to UK, for instance, they are. When we look on the quality in the buildings, they are in a high level. It's almost the same in many ways as it is in Denmark. We are known in Denmark and Scandinavia in general to have a really high quality on our buildings, and that's the same in UK. And even some buildings are even higher quality. Yeah. So they understand clearly exactly about the quality in the building, and for that reason also the components. So if you do not have quality components in UK, in that case your products, then you will not bring any value at all. So UK is an interesting market because first of all, I didn't mention that in the beginning, but when you come to Asia, not all people are able to speak fluently English. So that's a conflict of something sometimes, right? In UK, yeah. There's
no communication barrier.
No, not at all, because they are like all are speaking English and like fluently, of course, and that's just what you are about in England, right? So I believe that's a really good thing, because it's just easier. It's easier for communication, and it's easier to come through. Because in some ways, when it is, of course, when we are dealing with larger companies in China, for instance, then there is not really a communication barrier. But on the other hand, there is. Yeah. So this is also something to point out about that. So just in short, the UK for us is an interesting market, and how do we get the connections? I had some connections already in UK, and we also have an agent, and for that reason they are connecting us with the different, that could be lighting designers, architects and so on.
Okay.
So mainly the same story. There is some other things when it comes to exporting and importing from those countries, because Europe is another thing. You know, there's no tax in that way. You do not pay what. If I send a product from Denmark to, let's say, in this case, of course, UK is another story right now, as you might know, but let's just say we send something to another European country, which is a part of the EU, then you will not have to pay, or I will say, correct myself, that the company who is receiving the products will not have to pay what or tax as well, because that's already paid. So that's a good thing about you. But if you send the products to, let's say, Singapore, then you have to pay, right?
Yeah.
But then we are just doing something smart, which is also maybe useful for you if you want to go abroad in other countries. You can have, in our case, a factory in South Korea or China, and then you can send the products directly from that factory to the customer that you have in Singapore or China, whatever it will be.
So you can get faster delivery as well.
Faster delivery, and also you will not have to pay any tax, because you do not have to send it to Denmark to pay tax and then send it to the other one, right?
Yeah.
So and it's totally fine to do it like that, because when you have products which are coming to Europe, then it's the same story. You know, depending on the country, but you have to pay tax, you have to pay water as well, and you do not have to pay that if you just send it directly, which is a really smart idea actually. So
good. So you actually had an impact on Brexit from your company to UK.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because when that was started, we had some products which should be delivered, and I remember that I think it was before actually, so we didn't really have any problems, but still there will come some, right? Because it's just changing. It's changing really much, and we have to consider that if we are sending any products to UK or something like that, then we have to consider that.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing at all. It's fine. No problem with that at all.
So I've actually seen you in Lithuania on your vlogs.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. Lithuania is, first of all, a really beautiful country. I love that. I am mainly in Vilnius and Kaunas, which is the biggest cities. What I can say about those cities, for instance, is aside they're really beautiful, then the market is really tough. You can go to a supermarket and you can buy like a lot of different foods, and you can pay maybe half of the price as you might pay here in Denmark.
But are they willing to pay more for good quality in Lithuania, like in other UK
that really depends. I mean, there is some projects in our case which are, really nice, and people wants to buy some extra things for the apartment or hotel or something like that. But in general, and by that I mean when we are talking about general buildings, that could be schools, that could be office buildings and so on, it is so pressed market. It's so crazy how the price just has to drop if you want to get into that market. So it really comes down to who you are partnering up with in Lithuania. And we have now found one which is our distributor in Lithuania, and that company seems to have some really nice project. And that's a good thing, because then we can say, okay, you have this project right now and the customer like our solution, and then they really do not, of course, to a certain way, they are not really caring about the price. There is of course some limitations, but in a lot of ways they are focusing on projects which are more exclusive, and that's a good thing for us.
Yeah. Because
we have a product portfolio which is aiming from a little bit of low discount products to a really high-end portfolio of products, and we are aiming in different directions sometimes, but it's just in some of the ways when they call out Lithuania for this country here, it's hard. It's a tough market. Yeah.
But you have to be geared to adapt to the different markets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have been in Lithuania 2 times. I have visited Vilnius 2 times and Kaunas 2 times. I think I will be visiting the country again, but just to have a meeting with our distributor there, because it's not really a market that we want to focus on right now.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what about France?
Yeah, France is tough. France is a beautiful place, especially Paris. I love that. The only thing that is so hard when it comes to French is the language barrier. I guess you might have told that I will say that.
Yeah.
There's a huge problem there, as I see it, because a lot of people in France do not really want to speak English. So you have a barrier there. Even though there's like a really, like I went to a meeting with a really a large company, they was not really able to do it. Some are not able to speak English at all, and some are able to do it but will not do it because they are the French language is also beautiful, right? But it's so hard to communicate. So French is not really a market that we want to focus so much on. We want to focus on that if we have an agent who is in charge of Normasym and so on. Then they can focus on that because then they speak French, and then it's much easier.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it is. And then how can you say when it comes to the different countries in French, of course Paris is the most interesting market for us, because Paris is where a lot of buildings are built, and also what I believe is you can come to a lot of different places in France where you really do not have any market. It's just how can you say? It's really hard to first of all communicate with the persons, and second, there's not really any buildings there. So I mean, it's like a lot of landmarks and so on, which is just like, yeah.
So France will almost always use French producers and French distributors.
Yeah, you can say that. I mean,
keep it all in-house in France.
Yeah, that's one way to see it, and the other way to see it is they want to how can you say, communicate with their own.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit tough to say that, but it's just if I were able to speak French like fluently, then it would be just perfect. Then we would have great business in France because the market is great and the people there is so sweet, and I really love the atmosphere in France. But it's just there is this barrier, and you have to have someone who is able to speak the language. Yeah. Otherwise, it will just.
So maybe in the future you'll get stronger in the French market.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and if we have an employee who is like French speaking, then we're just going there.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So how about the communication barrier in Bulgaria?
Oh yeah, Bulgaria. I can say that Bulgaria is. I have a funny story. I went to a meeting with a potential distributor there, and it was really good. We had a good talk, and they liked our products. After that, I was following up on the different projects that they might have for us and so on. But there was one person in Bulgaria. He couldn't speak any language, like only Bulgarian, of course. So that's really hard communicating with him, and the problem was that he was the person taking the phone in the beginning. I was like, no speak English, and that's a really long way, right? So what I believe in Bulgaria is that a lot of people are able to speak English, like great, no problem at all. The Bulgarian market is like the how can you say, the Lithuanian market. I cannot like compare like 100%, but when we are talking about the market in Bulgaria, it is typically projects where there is like a little bit of price war. Yeah. There are some projects which are really high end, and then they are not focusing on anything when it comes to price. But then we have the other thing, most of the buildings there, where we really have how can you say, projects where you just like it's price. So
that mentality maybe is spread all across all of Eastern Europe. Maybe
you can say that, and it's the same in Spain as well. We haven't really entered Spain, but I have heard that as well, right? There are some really exclusive projects. Of course, it's depending on where you want to go in Spain, but if you go to Malaga, for instance, then I believe it's much more different than it is in Madrid or Barcelona, right?
Yeah.
There is a tons of really nice projects in Barcelona and Madrid, but When we go to Malaga, then it's another story.
Yeah.
So it's really where you are in the countries.
So now we get to our closest neighbor, the German
All right.
market.
German market, like it's enormous. It's great and it's really interesting. I did a vlog. Maybe you remember that. That was 1 month ago or something like that. I believe it's a tough market because in German there's a lot of manufacturers who is actually manufacturing their products themselves. And what Germans are known for is the high quality, and they are really focusing on the lean model.
Ordnung muss sein.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So they're really like scheduled, and that's a perfect thing, especially when we are in this business that I am in, and that leads to say that in some way they're really ahead of us when we come to Germany, but we are really how can you say, welcomed in Germany because we are from Copenhagen, and a lot of German people knows Denmark and Copenhagen, so that's a country which is really near, and for that reason I believe it's a great market for us. What we have seen in Germany is that a lot of buildings, especially residentials, are going on, so they are building a lot, and that means that a lot of people in Germany from the cities, like we say, just the cities around Berlin, that's the cities around Munich and so on, the people are moving closer to the bigger cities, as well as it is in Copenhagen. So that is something that you will see as well. But in Germany, that is mainly what we are doing there. It's residentials and it's hotels, and then we have some office buildings. I believe it's a really great market, and I believe in Germany, for instance, they are really good to communicate, and they know what they want. If you want Germany, you have to be like really straightforward.
Yeah.
You should not go out like in circles, and
You have to be transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. You have to, when you have the meeting with them, then you just have to be like directly, and you just, not so much small talk, right? That's really important. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that leads us with Scandinavia.
Yeah, Scandinavian market. I have been in Sweden, I have been in Norway, Denmark, and Finland as well. Those 4 countries are what we have been in, and I believe to be honest with you, we haven't got any success in Sweden, only a few. Denmark, we have of course a lot of sales because we are here, so we want to be there as well, which is good. Finland, nothing yet. Norway, not so much success.
Okay.
But what I can say about these, and that's actually a little bit strange, right? But what I can say is, and also from my colleagues which are calling them and try to have a meeting and so on, is that we are too close and they cannot really see any but they cannot really see any way why they should buy from us. We are from Copenhagen, they are from Norway. Okay, what's the big difference? So they want to buy from companies which are maybe, let's say Italy, let's say China, let's say something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then they want to sell it. Those markets are, and that's so strange, but those markets are just hard for us. It's really hard. And I believe not is because of the barrier when it comes to language, because what I normally do, I understand Swedish, I understand Norwegian. I do not understand Finnish, I have to say that. It's pretty hard, right? But then we are talking English, and people are normally able to talk English in those countries, but it's not, what I just would say with this is, even though you're living in Scandinavia, then you really do not have to, how can I say, focus on those countries. You can also focus on other countries, which is much more easier, and that's easier for us. So we haven't got so much like orders from Scandinavian countries because the past half year we have been focusing on a lot of other countries with a lot more success for us. So it's not really, it's so important that you understand, you have to try the markets first, and then you have to get some knowledge on how it's working. And I have been in tons of meetings in Sweden, Norway, and so on, but and I have also found out that it's pretty much the same market as it is in Denmark. So then we have tried it out, we have bid on some projects and so on, but if you just are in a position where you really cannot come in and cannot really win any projects, then it's waste of time if you look on the other countries where you really have success. So it's really about finding out, especially, you can go there like 2 times. I went to Lithuania 2 times. We have not dropped the country, it's fine, it's really good and it's an interesting country. and also mentioned beautiful. But it's just if you want to go several times, it's really important that you just specify, and then you find out, okay, there's a business here for us. Then we go for it, right? But you should not be stupid and just go to the countries each time, like every month, and you do not get anything out of it. You have to be realistic, right?
Yeah.
So you have to stop in a certain period. And we are doing that with the Scandinavian countries right now. We do not really want to focus on them because of this barrier for some reason, conflict of interest, you can say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually have a bonus question or a bonus country.
All right.
So, how do you see the African market?
Oh, that's right. I went to a meeting with the embassy of Uganda.
Yeah.
And it was about a really huge project. As you might know, Africa is like a huge country, yeah. And it's crazy, right? And a lot of people are thinking that Africa is, there's not really so much happening in Africa and so on, and they are poor and so on.
I've been to Kenya and Nairobi, and they're like building like insanely much.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right, and that's why we want to focus on that market. So that's actually on our next level, and I have to say that we will have like booked a flight ticket that could be in around February, as I remember. Then I will go to those different countries down there. I see a huge potential there because they are building schools, office buildings, hotels, residentials. They have an infrastructure, but they have like really old things there. So it's really old and it's really not working so good. So there's a huge potential.
Yeah, and I've heard that China is investing a lot in Africa.
Yeah,
so.
China started to invest in Africa long before US, and
Yeah.
that's the problem with US right now,
Yeah.
because they haven't really started to invest in China, and now, started to invest in Africa, and now China has just been in Africa for so long time, and they're just sitting on the market like really hard. I believe the market in Africa is just a great opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, good question actually.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it.
I think that's it too. So Michael, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah.
And we will be up hopefully very soon with a new video. So if you like this video and if you want to see more from our perspective and also from Normasym, the company, then you can subscribe down below, and then you can also like the video if you like what you saw. Also, at last, if you got any questions regarding those different countries, and if you want to ask, that could also be if you have any specific country in mind, then you can just comment down below, or you can send us an email. Then we will be really happy to help you with that journey.
And remember to push the bell so you can get the notifications on your email every time
right.
new videos uploaded.
That's right. That's right. Remember to do that as well, guys. So yeah, thank you for watching, and also for you, Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for
Thank
joining.
you for having me.
Okay. See you
Bye.
guys. Bye bye.